My name is John McKeon, and I'm the moderator of the Teradata Aprimo River community, Teradata and Aprimo's largest customer community. You can connect with us at teradataRiver2.com. Today, we are talking with Nancy Couture, Vice President of Data Management Services. She works for Unitedhealth Group. Unitedhealth is one of the largest single health carriers in the U.S. Nancy will be presenting at Partners Conference this year on reducing data management complexity in the enterprise. Welcome to the River, Nancy.
Thank you.
Nancy, when you're talking about reducing data management complexity, that is a big subject, particularly on the enterprise level. What do you see as the major components in actually trying to reduce complexity?
Well, you're right, John. It is a very large endeavor for any company, but also really important. The four major components to reduce data management complexity is to develop an enterprise system roadmap, which basically includes developing a future state vision for how you'd like to see your strategic systems and strategic assets in the future. The second step is to incorporate a simplification strategy, which includes things like identifying your system redundancies, identifying opportunities to integrate and eliminate systems, and introduce technology standards. The third piece is decommission enterprise assets that are not strategic. These should be identified within that enterprise system roadmap that is developed. And the fourth component is developing an enterprise system sourcing strategy, which is really important as you start looking downstream at the analytics capabilities of the company. Any way that we can identify strategic sources for analytics enables us to become a lot more able to develop consistent and high quality analytics at the back end. So even though a lot of this discussion is around transactional systems from a standpoint of developing the roadmap and the strategy, the bottom line is it enables better analytics and better development of any kind of data warehouse capabilities on the back end for the company as well.
Nancy, for a company as big as Unitedhealth Group, why can't I do some of these things? What are the interdependencies between the four you mentioned?
Well, actually, all four of these types of initiatives are interdependent. The first one being that developing an enterprise systems roadmap is first and foremost, but then being able to actually do something about it entails doing things like simplification and decommission and identifying things that are more strategic and things that you don't want to focus on in the future. So it would be very difficult, for instance, to identify a decommission program without having a full-fledged roadmap and future state vision in front of you so that you can put everything together.
What about the biggest complexities? If you were to do a prioritization, from your experience, where did the biggest complexities come from in the enterprise?
Oh, well, especially with a large organization, I think what ends up happening is that most companies, not just the one that I work for, but other companies as well that I've heard through networking and discussions, is that companies don't have a roadmap and a future state vision that identifies what's strategic and long-term and what really should not be focused on. And what ends up happening is that companies will acquire other companies, but they won't integrate the data right at the start. They may actually develop new systems, new applications, new databases without realizing that similar ones already exist. There is a lot of new development that occurs, and older systems are not decommissioned because it's such a difficult thing to do. And because of that, in the end, you end up with sort of a spider web of systems that become very complex to work through, especially when you are looking to develop an enterprise data strategy or some type of an asset at the back end to pull everything together.
Nancy, That all makes sense to me, but there's another piece to this whole thing, and I think it was the third thing you mentioned, decommissioning. What about the people side? I mean, this is not just about pulling a plug. You've got a lot of people out there that have used a particular system for a long time and said, hey, this thing works, I don't want to lose it. How do you deal with decommissioning from the human perspective?
You're right. Actually, the decommission aspect is probably one of the most difficult ones because people using those particular assets will feel like they're getting what they need today and they don't want to let go of it. The way to really deal with it, the best way, is by sharing with those individuals the future state vision, the roadmap that is being developed so that they can understand that even though there may be a short-term work effort to transition to something new, in the long run, you're on a more strategic path that will provide them with more consistency of data and also a more strategic system and set of assets to work with in the future.
Nancy Couture, she'll be presenting a great talk at Partners Conference, Reducing Data Management Complexity in the Enterprise. Everybody's enterprise is complex. I think Nancy's going to have some great insight and some best practices around this. Nancy, looking forward to seeing you at Partners.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well.